Welcome to the FanBoi podcast. I'm your host, FanBoi or Calum, and today I'm joined by Alexander. He's a writer for Ear Milk. Now, would you like to introduce yourself and let us know what you do?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been a writer for a long time, the past 5 years or so. First started writing out for my own personal blog, which was ATL Vibes. I'm Atlanta native, decided to start that in, I think it was freshman, sophomore year. Wrote about 50 articles or something crazy on there. And then I wrote a book about the history of hip hop when I was a sophomore in high school. Did a bunch of research during my sophomore summer and wrote a little book, put it on Amazon. It was super crazy to see because like the best thing about Amazon is like they'll push it out to a bunch of different countries. So I was getting sales in like Japan and I was like, what the hell? But yeah, I mean, that was really crazy to see. And then I basically used my book and my articles on ATO Vibes to get me a position at Ear Milk, where I've been writing for the past year, 2 years. That's been really good. You know, when I first started off with ATO Vibes, I had to reach out to artists to get them to send me their press releases and their singles and stuff like that. And it was sort of crazy to see that, now people were reaching out to me to send press releases and singles, which was like definitely a crazy switch up for me. And I've been writing for them for a long amount of time, like a year or two, and I've recently been pushing out my website that I just created called Beatly Music, just www.beatlymusic.com, and it's basically just Rotten Tomatoes for music. So we aggregate a bunch of critic reviews into one average critic score for the 30,000 albums we have in our database. And I've been working on that recently and continue writing with Ear Milk.
Now, what kind of content do you write? Is it reviews, news?
Yeah, so on Ear Milk, I primarily write features and little news articles. And Ear Milk is really prides himself on featuring up and coming artists. So a lot of the articles will be with people that have 10K followers on Instagram. We're really trying to find the next big thing. Like the next Billie Eilish, the next Vince Staples. Artists like that.
And how do you go about finding independent artists or smaller artists like that?
Yeah, I mean, I get 200 emails a day, 100 emails a day, like just an absolute. I mean, I know my email has definitely gotten sold on one of these lists because people just from completely across the US will just send me emails. I'm like, I don't even know who you are. But usually when I'm trying to find new artists, I'll comb through some of those emails. I'll look through some of the Spotify playlists, and then take a listen to some of those. Uh, it's sort of crazy, but I'm really excited about a lot of these NFT stuff because I've discovered a lot of artists that I felt like were going to be really big and then eventually turned out to be big. I first listened to Jivion. I don't know if you know him, but
No.
yeah, so he's basically this R&B artist. He's really up and coming. I think he could definitely be up there with some of the Bryson Tillers and some of those type of artists. But he was first featured for like 20 seconds on this Drake song, and I listened to it. I was like, who the hell is that? And I went on Twitter and they were like throwing across like all these different R&B artists. Like no one could figure out who it was. And I found him and he just had no songs. I was like, all right, this guy's gonna be big. Like I need to figure out who this guy is. And eventually he released his debut album and got featured on, Rolling Stone, MTV, all those big players.
Can we go back to the NFT thing? So I know that's the
Yeah.
topic that you want to talk about is music NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, I think music NFTs are going to completely change how the music industry for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
If you see a chart of the music industry revenue, it's like completely been destroyed over the past 10 years.
For all the dummies out there, and like I'm kind of new to this too, but like, can you explain what a music NFT is before we get into like its effects?
Yes, sure. Music NFT basically, so an example would be an artist would sell an album cover with a special graphic attached to it. and it would be a single album cover with a special graphic, and one person can buy that, and it would be unique to that person, right? There would only be one of those out there. It would be, for example, it would be like if I went out and I bought a Picasso painting, right? There's only one Picasso painting out there. There would only be one of this album cover. And you are able to sell 1,000 album covers. So that would be like if Picasso painted 1,000 of the same paintings and then sold all of those. But essentially, it's a unique digital asset. I think it's going to be really big for the future of music.
And when has this just started affecting the hip hop industry? Like, in what ways?
I think, right now, the music industry, when they first started thinking about NFTs and stuff, it was really just a cash grab. You saw a lot of Chris Browns, a lot of these artists just put an NFT out there because it would be an easy sale. But I think, in the future, I've listened to a lot of stuff, there's a lot of these ideas that you can sell, right? I got really blessed to be able to go to the Kanye West release party tonight because I live in Atlanta. Yeah,
That's
it's
awesome.
gonna be, I'm so excited for it. But if my ticket I bought in Ticketmaster was an NFT, right? I could resell that in the future when the Donda listening party becomes this huge, massive cultural event, right? And I could resell that ticket as sort of a status symbol, right? And you could attach that to, your Instagram profile, your Facebook profile, if they bring NFTs into those type of social media platforms.
Wow, who would buy a used ticket?
I don't know. I mean, the real question is how much would someone pay for, the Kanye West listening party at the New York stadium? You remember that? Like that was the big, there's a lot of memes coming out of that. I think I would probably pay $10, maybe $15. I mean, it's a pretty cool event.
But I think that's a low amount. I know people would probably spend their savings, see Kanye.
I know. I mean, people would definitely. I mean, you're talking about, when you're putting into who's your favorite artist, how much would you really pay for them? My sister is a big Machine Gun Kelly fan, and she said she would pay $100, $500 for some of these really exclusive NFTs. I'm a big, like Dominic Fike fan. I've been into Travis Scott for a while before he became massive mainstream and a little bandwagony by a lot of artists.
Do you have expectations or any predictions for Utopia?
I'm really, I thought Astroworld was definitely a really good project.
Yeah.
It wasn't Rodeo. I think everyone can agree it wasn't Rodeo. But I would love to see a more futuristic rock Travis Scott. I think that would be a really interesting way he could take that album and make it, unique. Like Kanye West over the past 10, 20 years has really been pushing the boundary of music and blending music. And I would love to see Travis Scott to follow that too.
So almost when you say rock, do you mean like a turn back to like the Rodeo kind of?
Yeah. I mean, God, I love Rodeo so much, like I think rock and rap are such a good combination, like a lot of modern rap was influenced by rock. And I think it's just, I really love to see artists sort of pushing the boundary of what rap is and really meshing them deeply with other genres. So I think it'd be a super interesting album if he sort of meshed with that type of rock rap.
I would hope that he tries something new or experiments a bit because like, I don't want to get an album full of franchise.
Yeah, me too. I don't want McDonald's rap,
Yeah. The Reese's Puffs, the McDonald's.
Yeah.
I want to get back to the industry a bit. And I have some questions for you because I know you're in the industry, but what do you think is the best platform for music based on growth?
You mean like streaming platform?
Yeah, we'll start with streaming and then we can go.
Yeah, I mean, I think Spotify is by far the best music platform. But I do think there are some massive changes Spotify can make to really bolster their own revenue and the whole music industry revenue. Spotify has 60% market share of, like they have 100 million, 200 million users on their app and website, but they're still not profitable, which is like insane, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how do they have all those users and listeners and fans and they still can't make a profit? And going back to the whole NFT thing, you know, I think if Spotify really made a push into NFTs to make it more of a consistent mainstream sell than just a cash grab by a lot of these artists, I think you could totally transform their revenue.
What do you think of podcasts being on Spotify, like in video format? Because I know Joe Rogan has a video format, but that's only him. I can't upload a video to Spotify.
Yeah.
So I'm using YouTube and stuff. But do you think, I don't know, could you see them maybe implementing a way to upload video podcasts, because podcasts are getting bigger now? So
yeah, I mean, I think, you know, while I love music, you know, podcast has definitely taken away a little bit of my music listening, because I just think they're really good for learning about a bunch of different things. You know, like you can learn about American culture, you can learn about Canadian culture, you can learn about all these crazy different genres and stuff, right? We're on a music podcast right now, you know, like you can learn about a bunch of different stuff. But I think everyone loves video, you know, while audio is definitely undervalued right now. Everyone loves video. And I think Spotify pushing into more of a Netflix type video platform could definitely be really interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to see that too. And actually, Netflix is going into gaming as well.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And especially, supposedly it's free. So it'll be cool. Yeah,
free for subscribers. Gaming. Yeah.
Free for Sky. Yeah, obviously.
What does it mean by gaming? Like, is it real games, or do you think it's going to be like a choose your own adventure, Bandersnatch sort of thing?
I think it will definitely be a mix of Bandersnatch. You know, I really thought Bandersnatch was fun. You know, played / watched or whatever. And I died like 3 times, but I had a fun time playing it.
I love the ending where it's like with the meta ending where he's back in the studio.
Yeah.
Like, spoiler alert, everybody, but that's crazy. I love the meta stuff.
That was
getting a little bit
super
lost.
Cool.
Yeah, we're getting lost here. We're talking about platforms.
Yeah.
We went on like streaming platforms now, like social media, Instagram, Snapchat. Like, what's the best way for a young artist to grow?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's tough. You know, over 30 years ago, when it was just artists releasing vinyls and CDs and stuff, it was really just about the music. You know, like if you release good music, you would get fans. And now that there's just so many artists and so many platforms, it's not just about releasing good music. You know, you really have to master that marketing and getting your name out there. You know, Lil Nas X, for example, is one of the smartest marketing guys in the music industry. You know, his ability to rile up controversy on his Nike shoe and all the stuff that's come out of that is really, really smart, and it's definitely helped him grow his career. So if I was giving advice to, you know, a young artist, I would definitely say to try to push your name out there with, you know, some of these smaller blogs like Ear Milk, Early Rising, stuff like that, and to really just like, I think right now 50% of it is making good music and the other 50% is marketing yourself. So I think it's really important for up and coming artists to really master making good music and to equally master marketing.
That's a hard thing to do. Like, that's a lot to ask somebody. It's not like,
I know,
you know, like you live in New York, right?
I live in Atlanta right now.
Atlanta, sorry. I'm confused.
No worries.
Have you been to New York or places where they're like selling CDs in the street? Yeah. It's so weird because I don't hear it first. Like, I want to listen to it before I buy it. So it's a weird thing to be like, hey, hand me $20 for the CD. I'm the next Drake. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's changed a lot, which is fucking crazy. But
yeah.
What are, back on industry stuff, writing? What's your thoughts on ghostwriting?
You know, I think all these freaking artists have ghostwriters, you know, and I think it's within the industry, it's not really that looked down upon. You know, Drake, in my mind, even though he may have 5 ghostwriters, is more of a DJ Khaled type, where he's able to bring together a lot of these incredible writers, producers, and to really create an album that's based around his idea of what music is and what his future of music is. And I think, honestly, I'm okay with music writers. But I always love those Joey Badasses, those artists that are really gonna write their own lyrics, because it's coming from them and it's not just coming from some other writer that's thinking of what Drake might think.
Does it bother you when they don't credit them though? Like that's the thing about ghostwriting, is because there's no credit.
Yeah, it does bother me, because if you have ghostwriters, you should acknowledge them, because not only is it the right thing to do, but it's also going to help their career. And it's crazy to set, like, it's crazy for me to think that like these great writers are behind Drake, but they're not getting credit, right? Like God's Plan was almost definitely ghost credit. And it's crazy that like a lot of these great songs, there's just no credit to the writers behind it.
Yeah, and I think that now that most people know that these artists have ghostwriters, it doesn't matter to hide them anymore, because
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And industry plants. What do you think of industry plants?
I heard this giant freaking story about how Clairo is an industry plant. I don't know. You know who she is? You know who she is?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
She's like a bedroom pop star on YouTube.
Yeah. Exactly. But I heard this whole story about how her like uncle is like a big record executive, and she really wasn't making music, and then boom, she became this giant music star and has like this 100K followers on Instagram. And they had this whole story about how like she was this industry plant. I think industry plants can be unfair in a lot of ways, because they have connections that a lot of other artists don't have, that probably deserve. I'm a big fan of Dominic Fike, but Dominic Fike was almost definitely an industry plant. He was making rap albums and rap songs for like 1 to 2 years, and they got absolutely no traction. And then a record label brought him in and basically told him to stop doing that shit and start releasing more indie pop type of songs and albums. And he's really excelled. And I think he makes great music, but he does have that background where, he has all these rap songs out there, and that's who he was. And then the industry completely changed who he was. So, it's hard, because a lot of artists do make good music that are industry plants, but it is unfair to a lot of the up and coming artists.
Yeah, no, I could mostly agree with that. I think if they have talent, then it's a great thing for them. But it's funny to see that it's such an unfair advantage. But I guess it is.
Yeah, of course.
Thoughts on Donda?
I'm excited for it. I mean, I heard the freaking release on all these snippets and stuff. I think Kanye is really smart too. I mean, his marketing for the album has been really good. His ability to get on Apple Music, to get on the NBA with his commercial, has been really, really smart. And I'm excited for his listening release. I think it's gonna be great. But if he comes out there with a full gospel album like his last album, I am not gonna be happy. I want a really good mix of gospel and sort of that Yeezus, sort of that My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
I think it will be still somewhat gospel in the sense that it's not going to be explicit, because he hasn't used explicit lyrics, but I think he's learned from Jesus is King not to do that. Yeah, I still like Jesus is King. I don't think it's his worst, but like a lot of people didn't like it, so maybe I'll see like a Life of Pablo, but more clean Life of Pablo.
Yeah, I will. I mean, I would like that type of album. I would be excited for it.
I think we would also see a return to Yandhi, which like, because he had the track Hurricane as on a track list, and Hurricane was from Yandhi, so we could maybe see a return to the Yandhi sound, which is pretty cool.
I mean, I listened to Yandhi a little bit on Spotify and YouTube, and I thought not Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube, and I thought it was pretty decent. Like I was expecting sort of that for Jesus is King. I mean, obviously we got more gospel album, but with a lot of Kanye West albums, they're hated on in the beginning, and then 5-10 years people really love them. So a lot of people hate on Jesus is King, but who knows, in 5-10 years we may be all looking at it and say, wow, that was a good album.
Well, I'm surprised that no one's saying that it sounds like Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah,
It does. It sounds like Dark Twisted Fantasy in the production. Like the opening track with the drums, that was all like a
yeah,
throwback for
for
me. Yeah.
sure.
Um, can we talk about your book, your history of hip hop book on Amazon?
hmm Well, yeah, I mean, you know, I was pretty young at the time, but and I really in college I really want to pursue rewriting it and bring a lot of the best practices for writing a book. You know, like I've definitely heard some reviews that there's not a lot of citations, there's not a lot of that, but it was definitely a really good learning process for me for writing and especially writing a book. I had to scour the web, talk to a few people that knew about the history of hip hop from its beginning up until now. And it definitely, hip hop has always been a big thing for me. Um, when I was younger, I used to play on a travel basketball team, and we all came from different areas of Atlanta. And the one big thing that connected us was hip hop music. So it's always been a big thing for me. And one of the big things that I wanted to do with the book was to really acknowledge a lot of the hip hop music that I came up on, and to donate, like for example, any of the profits from the book I donated back to a lot of the minority Atlanta communities, a lot of those type of stuff that were really important to me with my basketball career and with just coming up.
So, basketball, is that still a thing that you play? So play basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking of playing D3 basketball at like MIT or something like that. But I got really blessed to have a good scholarship opportunity at Washington University in St. Louis. I decided to just jump on that instead of playing basketball because, quite honestly, it was a big time commitment. And my true passion is really music and being in the music industry. So I really wanted to focus on that in college.
Uh, do you have interests at all in creating music?
I tried to make music. I just wasn't good. I wasn't good at
No.
all. My singing voice, it would turn some ears, but not for a good way.
Practice. Just practice. Find something.
Maybe. But I mean, a lot of my friends that are going to wash you are music producers, so it'll be really fun to be in that sort of atmosphere, college atmosphere.
Yeah, music production is something I've been doing since I was 12 because I wanted to do dubstep and I realized
Yeah,
that sound design is really fucking hard.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I've just been doing beats recently. So that's about it. I can only make beats. I can't play an instrument. I'm not a talented musician in any way.
yeah,
But it's interesting. It's something to do. Music. And actually, have you heard of Playboy Shardy?
yeah. I've seen him on on
Fucking Playboy.
Instagram.
He's I've been getting listeners, but the listeners have been racking up. He's at 45, and I know this
Yeah.
rapper, underground rapper named Kai 45. He's
hmm
super talented. He's been putting out music for 2 years, and he only has 25 listeners. But Playboy Shardy, that's 1 week. I could
Yeah.
have. It was the week of finals. I could have been studying, and I did that instead. I don't
Yeah.
regret it. It was fun. He's up by 45. So I want to see where this Playboy Shardy thing goes. Again, it hurt my voice, so I don't want to do it anymore because my voice will be dead. But I mean, I don't know. I think it could turn into like a funny meme because it's actually gaining an odd amount of traction.
Yeah.
But then again, it's because it's attached to the Playboy Cardi name. When I search up Playboy Cardi, it shows up. So I'm just saying, plug music through there, guys. Playboy Shardy's blowing up 2021, Summer of Shardy. Anyways, let's go into the back into the music. What are your thoughts on the future of rap music?
You know, I really think the future is going to be a very genreless industry. With rap, a lot of artists I think are doing a really good job of defining, future rap. Playboy Cardi, I think, is doing a really good job. A lot of his music isn't for everyone. He really, he's not really rapping. I think his real talent is in, his voice alteration with auto tune and with a lot of the production. So I really think the future of rap is going to be a lot of these artists that are playing with sort of that voice alteration and sort of that heavy rock sort of punk type production.
Yeah. Well, this ties into what we were just talking about with the
Yeah,
Cardi thing, because it's actually really, really easy to remake a Cardi song. You need to
yeah,
make like a
exactly.
Pierre type beats are really easy to make too. So you get that. Install auto tune. Maybe put like some guitar pedals on it, some effects.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, Mario Judah made a 4-song Playboy Cardi album in like 2 weeks
Yeah.
just to meme him.
Yeah.
So
That
it was
was
a good album.
that was my point of the Shardy things. I saw Mario Judah did it. He did 4 tracks. I'm like, fuck, I'll do 8 in 1 week. It's shit though, but it's a really easy sound to replicate. So I think you could be right there, but I think this is a weird one. But I think country rap, in a
Oh,
sense,
for
country
sure.
rap. Have you heard of RMR?
I haven't.
No. I'm trying to think. Maybe I'd say Roddy Ricch is similar in that vibe. I consider it trap music, like soul like trap music, but then like it's southern, so they got the accent. So you got a bit of country. I think Roddy Ricch definitely does that with his voice a lot. Young Thug did that Beautiful Thugger Girls album, but no one really pays attention to it. I pay attention to it because I hear similarities in that to a lot of the new music coming out now. So we could see like unintentionally a country rap sound, like you said, the Pierre sound, or the Playboy Cardi sound. What do you think is the future for grime, like the Griselda type music?
I do think grime has a future for sure. I think a lot of this pop sort of music is going to be, or sort of punk type music is going to be popular in the future. I would love to see, I think a lot of these artists that are going to be coming up that are going to be really popular in the future are going to be meshing genres like country rap, soul rap. Like I think sort of punk and rock and rap and a lot of these mesh of genres could be super interesting to see in the future. And I really think the next big artists are going to be doing that.
I feel like a good group that represents that doesn't really get enough traction is Brockhampton.
Yeah, I love Brockhampton.
Yeah, for sure. That their Saturation series. I remember listening to them since Saturation 2 and the progression of their sound. And I'm surprised that they haven't got as much traction as they do because they really cleaned up their style. Like it sounds really good now.
Yeah, I mean, I really love Brockhampton. I think all their albums are really good. I mean, obviously they had that whole controversy of one of their members. They had to really deal with that. But it's hard for the future of the music industry because a lot of these artists are now blowing up on TikTok. I just read this article about how Lil Nas X is basically hacking his songs together in order to blow up on TikTok. Like he makes the hook like the first 10 seconds of the song, and he makes every song like under 2 minutes, so it can like maximize the potential of blowing up on TikTok.
That's clever. That's a good move. I'm gonna use that.
Smart.
Yeah,
he's smart.
Use that. Like, yeah, first 10 seconds. That's why songs are so short, probably. Like I'm hearing music that's like 1-2 minutes. People get bored of it.
Yeah.
Is it gonna get so repetitive to the point that everything's like a little jingle and it's done? Or are people gonna like get sick of it and want to hear a new sound? Like, I don't know. It could go either way.
I mean, I think you'll see both. I think you'll see a lot of these Lil Nas X and a lot of these artists that are really, making their music purely so it blows up on social media. And I think you'll see some artists really reel back on that. I expect, some of these later artists like Jay-Z, Kanye, some of these older artists that really appreciate, pure music. I think you'll see them start to lengthen their albums, their songs, in order to really just put emphasis on the music itself and not just social media.
Yeah. Do you think we might see a split? Is that what you're saying? There might be like a divide.
Yeah, I think there'll be a
Yeah.
big split between, traditional musicians who really just love music and want to create pure music, and you'll see, social media stars that are creating social media songs that will be perfect for the TikTok dance and things like that.
I can maybe see a future where hip hop divides into two sides. We got like the mainstream pop, and let's be
Yeah,
honest, trap is pop music now. I'm listening to pop music, and it's just all trap. So
yeah,
that's pop, and then hip hop is the stuff like Kanye, Jay-Z, Griselda, all the underground stars, and that's like hip hop. I think that's gonna be the new hip hop because that's how hip hop started. It was really underground, and
yeah.
now that like it's hip hop's almost it's like it's a hypocrite to itself now that it's mainstream and it's all pop. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely pop. I really loved a lot of the old underground albums. I think The Weeknd's first projects were incredible.
Oh yeah.
And The Weeknd has definitely gotten more pop. Like his most recent album, After Hours, is definitely a little more pop than his old sort of dark trap R&B type albums. And I'd love to see The Weeknd go back to sort of that After Hours sound, because honestly, I bump After Hours like all the time. So I wouldn't be mad if a lot of these artists go back to that more underground sound instead of mainstream.
Yeah, like the Anderson .Paak. Oh, Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars are dropping this year. I completely
Yeah,
forgot about that. That could sound really good. That's mainstream, but then again, we got Anderson .Paak with the jazz rap sound, bringing that into the mainstream could draw some attention to it.
yeah. I mean, I love that combo because Bruno Mars really brings that mainstream attention, but Anderson .Paak's going to bring that sort of underground sound, and I think it's a really good combination.
I just want to say it's the perfect timing too, because we see Bruno Mars he's not as big as he once was. He's kind of at Anderson .Paak's level now, where Anderson's going, and now they're just right in the middle. So it's perfect timing too, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for it.
So before we close off, I have a couple more questions. First is, I talked about this on the show yesterday, but Certified Lover Boy expectations / predictions.
I've listened to the leaks and the snippets and stuff, and I think there's going to be a big conversation this year about which one's going to be better, Donda or Certified Lover Boy, because I think they're going to be really good albums. I really do. I think Kanye West after his divorce is going to be demon time, and I think his music's going to be really good because of it. And I've heard all the tweets about Certified Lover Boy. Oh, like best album of the year. Stop listening to any other album.
Yeah.
And I'm up on the hype. I think Drake could definitely release a good project this year.
I think he's had the time to definitely put out better music because it's been since 2019, 2018.
Yeah.
Since Scorpion dropped. And I don't know what the fuck he's been doing, but he's just been releasing like throwaway songs after throwaway songs. So hopefully he's productive and he's putting out good music. And what do you expect like the track list to be? Is it shorter, or is it going to have a deluxe, jam it with 30 songs, 40 songs?
I think we'll be pretty long. I mean, all these artists have had a long time to really work on music. A lot of times artists have to put out a project a year in order to appease their fans. But since a lot of Kanye West, the Drakes have had this long time to really focus on music, because like we were all stuck in our houses, apartments, all that for a year, 6 months, whatever, right? And there's really nothing else for these guys to do. Like all they got to do is sit around, listen to music, and make music. And so I think that's really going to benefit a lot of these new projects coming out.
Do you consider, now that we're talking about, Drake's had time to make music, he's been number one for like 10 years. Would you consider Drake to be old school now?
That's a tough question. I think Drake tries his best to act like he's not old, but in reality, he's like 35. So he is sort of old school now. But he really tries to not be old school. You know, he's constantly attaching his name to young artists and taking influence from a lot of the young artists to make sure his sound doesn't turn into, you know, Ice Cube and Jay-Z and some of this stuff. Like, he's really trying to make sure his sound is really modern and not 2000s rap.
Which is smart. I think that's really smart.
I think it's super smart, you know. That's the same thing Kanye's doing. Kanye isn't releasing, you know, graduation albums anymore because that's not what the market wants anymore. And so with a lot of these artists, I think it's super important about constantly evolving your sound, because if you don't evolve your sound, you're just getting left behind, and then you'll become the outcast, the artists that were incredible in their time but just haven't stayed relevant.
Yeah, and that's like 90% of artists.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, for sure. I think this wraps up our time here. But before we go, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Any more questions?
You know, not really. I mean, thank you so much for having me on. Definitely go check out Ear Milk, check out Beatly Music, all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, great talking to you today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining. Would you like to plug your socials?
Instagram? Yeah. You know, my personal social is alexander.zwerner, ZWERNER, and Beatly Music socials are just Beatly, Ly.music. So, yep.
And thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you everybody who's listening. Thank you everybody who's watching. You can follow this podcast on YouTube for full video podcasts and clips at FanBoi. Listen on Spotify, again at FanBoi. Or you can follow me on Instagram at fanboy_IG, which is where I post daily hip-hop related content, as well as clips from this here episode. Thank you everybody for listening. I'm your host, FanBoi, signing out.